Hey, what's up everybody? It's Frankie here. We're down at the beach. Want to talk to you guys in this video about what to do when your client says they're all bad leads. All of them, every single one of them. And if you ever had this, by the way, it really sucks. So we're going to get into that real quick. So let's do it. By the way, my God, does that suck. We're down in the water here. I'm going for a little beach walk. I got some baby bees. There's Zelda walking towards me. There's a bunch of little crabs here. And these kids are just so good at the beach. So what do you do when you do an awesome job, especially if you got a local business? This comes up all the time. If you work for brick and mortar, or you work with, I should say, not for. You work with brick and mortar, and you generate a whole bunch of leads for them, either through Facebook or AdWords or SEO, and their phone starts ringing and you're really stoked about it, and then you hear that dreaded phrase, they're all bad leads. And you think, really? All of them? It has nothing to do with the fact that you're shit at answering the phone. And local businesses in general are sometimes comically bad at answering the phone, or everything with the phone. They don't answer it. They don't call people back. When people do call, they can't answer basic questions. They say really dumb things. You know, I can remember, for example, one lady was just working the lunch hour at a law practice. I'm listening to the call recording. The person called and asked a question. She didn't know how to answer it, so she said, hey, well, there's a bunch of other lawyer websites. Why don't you just Google it and you can figure it out there. Right? Like, and these are phone calls, you know, they're paying a lot of money for on AdWords. They're like, yeah, just go somewhere else. They can figure it out. So if you're dealing with that, I'll tell you in my experience the two best ways to handle it. And one of those is a big strategic thing, because what ends up happening is if you tell a client 2 to 3 months down the road that the reason why the leads seem bad is because you're shit at answering the phone, you're going to have a hard time convincing them. And I'll tell you why, because it just sounds like backpedaling to them. So the way to handle this, by the way, is actually to do it up front as part of your ongoing service or whatever it is you offer. So for example, like one of the things I'll hear a lot from lawyers is if somebody calls my office and I want the case, I get it 100% of the time. Maybe not 100, but like 90, 95. And so I know from experience that not to be true because of all the things we discussed. They don't answer the phone. They can't answer basic questions. They say stupid things. So one of the things I'll do before I ever hit play on an ad, and this is really key with your timing, because if you run ads and then they get a bunch of leads and then they say they're all bad leads, you're just going to get into a pissing match. But if you start in advance and say that, and I call this a mystery call, you call them up. Sorry, I just see my little girls running to the, Daddy, you want to come in the water with Papa? So what you do is you call them up and you prove to them your basic concept and record a phone call that, hey, you're not such a hot shot at closing leads. And so I actually remember getting a $40,000 contract or something with a lawyer where he said, I get 100% of the leads I want. So I called him up, said, hey, I hurt my back in an accident, and watched his staff fuck the whole thing up, recorded it, sent him the recording and said, do you still think you get 100% of the cases you want? Because you sure didn't get this one, right? And amazing thing is, when you do that before you run an ad, you have so much more power to correct it. Now, you also, by the way, want to go a step deeper, and when they tell you they're bad leads, is go, what does bad leads mean? Does that mean they weren't qualified? Does that mean that they didn't pick up the phone? Like, what do you mean when you say a bad lead? Because that's a very generic thing, and that's kind of an excuse, right? And most of these places are very lacking in their sales process. There's Zelda Bee, by the way, running around. Zelda Bee! Coming in, the water's perfect here. It's like a foot deep, so they can like run a long ways out. Whee! Zelda, you want to say hello? Say hello. Zelda, say hello. Woo! You want to say hello, honey? Here, you want to get to Papa? Alright, there's some real parenting moments. Probably bad parenting because I'm talking to you guys. All 6 of you. So here's the second thing, by the way. And this is actually my favorite thing to do, is most local businesses are just shit at closing leads. Even the like top end, really good ones are sometimes still shit at closing leads. So what I've learned to do is just not send them leads they can't close. And I'll tell you the hardest ones to close for these people are Facebook ads, and close second is Google. And part of the reason is you got to be really quick. You got to follow up people. You got to have some sales skills, all things that they generally don't have. They don't move quickly. They don't know what to say. They don't have any sales skills. And if the person doesn't pick up the first time, they probably won't call them back a second time, right? They'll just assume bad lead and hang up the phone and never talk to them again. So my favorite thing to do is actually to multiply what's working, their word of mouth. My favorite way to do that is something called the buddy system. And the buddy system is really, really simple. You've seen this a lot if you've ever been to a gym. The way gyms grow, by the way, for the most part, and have for like a long, long time, is not Google AdWords and Facebook ads. I'm not saying those things don't work, but the way they grow is they give people little vouchers that say, bring a friend. If your friend wants to, and they give you a couple of free passes a month, and inevitably a certain percentage of those friends will say, out of curiosity, how much does it cost to get a membership? And I'll tell you the real key with referrals is there's two awesome things about it. One is they can actually close referrals because referrals are predetermined to work with them. They can be slow at following up with people. The sale's basically made by the referral, not by them. So it's already kind of like 90% of the way closed before they get there. And they tend to pay more. And so it gives them a lot of leeway that you don't get with, like, say, a Facebook ad. My tolerance for a gym with a Facebook ad not calling me back is a lot lower than somebody who, like, you know, my best friend goes to a gym and says, you got to try this place. I'm willing to wait a little longer for that phone call than I would be. And here's the other beautiful part about referrals. Guess what most local businesses are doing to make word of mouth happen on purpose? And the answer is absolutely zero, right? So they're getting almost all of their business from this word of mouth, and then they do nothing. By the way, there's all these little crabs on the beach. I just think this is so cool. They have the one giant claw that they run around with. Now he's frozen because he thinks I'm going to eat him. Oh, there he goes again. And so one of the simplest things you can do before you turn on the paid ads is help them just generate a little bit of referral business. And what happens is if they get some business from you that they can close, then they're far more open to your advice about how to fix their lead problems and things like that. Because what will happen is inevitably if you just turn on the Facebook ads or the Google ads and it exposes how shit they are at closing, you're just going to get into a pissing match and it doesn't really work out for anybody. So there are more ways to solve that problem, by the way, but those are my two favorite ways to do when they're telling you all your leads are bad is audit them before you hit go and show them that their lead process is broken. And then you got to help them fix it if you want to retain them. Or just bring them leads that they can close and then do that second step. So I see two siblings being punks to each other. Hey, be nice. So that's all I got for you guys in this video, and may the force be with you. And if you're not already, subscribe.